Hello, my name is Mr. Psyche, and welcome to my show. Welcome to the gaming segment of the Mr. Psyche Show, where we're going to be talking about 3 games this week under Night, also known as Uni 2, making its debut on the EVO stage in Las Vegas this year. I touched on that for the announcement last week, so this week I decided I want to go into a little bit more detail about the game. We're also going to be talking about Cocoon, which was a Game Awards winner last year, and finally Helldivers, which has shaken up the internet by storm. If you haven't seen clips of this game, you probably will eventually, as it's been blowing up not only my X feed, but my shorts, TikToks, and everything in between. One of the things that is really awesome about the clips from that game, though, is they are hilarious. So anyways, Uni 2, this fighting game is looking pretty interesting. It's an anime fighting game, now released worldwide January 25th. It's fairly new, so that means that the fighting game community is going to be labbing a lot with this one. I think when games are getting labbed on leading up to a tournament, that makes for fun clips and good moments. There's a lot of powerful tools in this game that make it, you know, pretty tournament worthy. I think it'll be really fun to watch for sure. You know, depending on the game, you can get good stuff from high level play with anime games. Sometimes you get pigeonholed into specific characters, but I noticed that there's a lot of varied gameplay styles with the character, and the toolkit is pretty opened up, so it allows for quite a lot of variation, even if you see matches with the same characters on them. This seems to be button setup pretty similar to Guilty Gear and other anime games. While I was digging into watching some tournaments, the mechanic that most interested me was this tug-of-war gauge that they have on the bottom called the grid gauge. And it seems like the grid gauge is on a time counter that counts up as the match goes on. So, you know, as the match goes on, as you're playing neutral, as you're, throwing out specials and things like that, this grid gauge is just kind of going on a timer round and round. As you're doing actions, offensive and defensive, the little nodes that are on the bottom of this grid gauge will kind of fill up during the fight. It was pretty interesting to see. So as the grid gauge fills, like the timer counter, if one of the two fighters has more of the little hexagonal nodes during that time frame, then they basically get a buff for a little while during that interaction. So once the grid counter fills, they can do like special stuff like canceling, and that becomes like their big tool for the game. So I assume once you get to high level play, it's going to be a lot of people worried about the tug of war of this grid. When you have a lot of mechanics like this, then you know that the high level players are going to be pretty good because they have to be aware of a lot of things going on the screen. Now, most fighting games nowadays pretty much have, 4 to 5 mechanics on the screen that you have to keep track of. But this one being tied to a timer, it was really making matches interesting. While I was watching some of the tournaments, I noticed that that grid and the management of that grid was really the key to controlling matches. So I thought that was really cool. Moving on to Cocoon, I wanted to talk about this game because last year during the Game Awards, it won Best Debut Indie Game, and then I kind of came to the realization that a lot of my friends hadn't heard of it or played it since it made the Game Awards. I know that not everybody's cup of tea is indie games, but I mean, just for games in general, I feel like when it comes to creativity and when it comes to new ideas and kind of changing genres and doing something unique, not being too tied to like this hold on having to have like a specific structure or having to appeal to the biggest markets possible, indie games are kind of, I feel like, where it's at. So the fact that this one won an award last year at the Game Awards, and not that many people know about it or have played it still, I thought I'd just circle back around and highlight it here. So like a lot of indie games, you're getting this one complete package. It's a little bit shorter, so that's, I think, good for people looking to manage their time better, find some games to play when they can, not feel like they get sucked down into these 80 to 90 hour romps sometimes. I'm looking at you, upcoming Final Fantasy VII Remake. Oh my god, that looks daunting but also exciting, and yeah, that's going to be a big one for me. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, sorry I got off on a tangent there, but going back to what I was talking about, the designers really have to go out of their way to nail something very specific when it comes to fighting games, like the world building or something along those lines. And usually, in my opinion, that's the mechanic that seems to draw me into these little indie titles. This one, not a little indie title, it's kind of a big one because it won an award, if you know what I mean. But they do a fantastic job making the mechanic key to everything in this game. It's an elegant little adventure where the puzzle and the puzzle solving is everything involved in how it works. As you go through and the world slowly starts to evolve, you're essentially placing the world you're going to inside of the other worlds. So essentially you're this little tiny beetle in this beautiful, well constructed world with this nice, it's got like an eerie tone music that keeps you kind of like invested in the scenery. But there's not a lot of dialogue, so the world building is all visual. You know, as you solve these puzzles, you start to fold the worlds into them per se. I won't go into it too much because I really want people to play the game. But yeah, as you unravel the puzzles of like world and world, you start to kind of see things. You know, your third eye opens up and you start to see things, and everything is slowly tying together, and it just opens the world up. As you get those like aha moments, you get those little dopamine sparks to your brain. And it gets you just like these absolutely wonderful wins as, you know, you figure out that like, oh, if I place this world and so on and so forth. So with so many really great games out, you know, obviously this one being no exception, I feel like it's really easy to get all lost in the sauce sometimes. So not only is this a good one, but it's short and well constructed, and the puzzles are so good. So if this would be a good one if you're looking for just a little bit of time management, like I said. But also I wanted to highlight this one because I feel like more and more it's hard to recommend certain titles to, say, a person who might not play video games, or a person who is interested in video games but doesn't necessarily have a lot of time or something like this. Titles like this are perfect for newcomers. You get the beauty of these scenes. The puzzles are accessible, and you know, it still makes you feel really fantastic every time you solve one and get into it. And you know, the world building is a lot in your head. I mean, as in, you know, like your imagination. So it gives a lot of room for people to just kind of wander, enjoy a little, you know, hour here and there, and just have a great time with the game. So this is also one of those games where I can look to it and I can truly say that this is a fun piece of art. And when I play games like this, there's nobody out there that could ever convince me that video games aren't art. There's this lost thing going on with these cookie cutter AAA titles, but you know, we got things like this out here. So the art is still alive, and as long as we get stuff like this, I will continue to enjoy my never-ending adventure in the land of digital media. So last game I want to talk about in the gaming section before we move on to open discussion, of course, is yeah, no doubt here. It's sorry. Of course, the last game I'm talking about today is going to be Helldivers 2. It absolutely blew up the internet this week, from crazy gameplay clips, memes, and just an overall sentiment that the game is pretty damn fun when you're hanging out with you know, squad of your pals out there trying to fight for democracy. It appears to be that, you know, teams of gamers have decided to jump in and fight for freedom. I haven't played the game yet. I just wanted to throw that out there. But the discussion that I wanted to go kind of backs up exactly what I was talking about in my when I was talking about Cocoon in the earlier part of my section. So 2023 was absolutely nutty when it came to games, and it looks like we are bleeding right into 2024. We've got Tekken came out, we had Pal World, and now we've got Helldiver. We've just got big game after big game that just grab and absolutely magnify the scene of games and the discussions around them, but they also take the discussion away from almost every other game, because, you know, right now this is in the headlines and that's just how it be. Elden Ring is around the corner. People have gotten their hands on their Final Fantasy VII review copies, so we're going to be seeing stuff coming out for that. And I just wanted to focus on this part of the story for Helldivers, which is the average gamer doesn't have the resources or time to consume all of this wonderful crap. While Helldivers, I will probably check out, admittedly, and I also have Remnant 2 sitting on the back burners. I actually have a couple characters left to finish for Baldur's Gate. I only got, I think, one of the DLC endings for Cyberpunk. Still haven't finished Sea of Stars. While writing about Cocoon, I was thinking about how nice it was to have that shorter game to just kind of finish and play. I also saw a lot of, you know, funny TikToks and shorts around the premise that, you know, if you're trying to play every single game that's coming out with your friends right now, you are probably going to be broke. It's just almost near impossible to keep up with everything. So for someone like myself, who, you know, never had enough allowance money to pay for all the games, when I usually got games, it was like, you know, the one big RPG game that came out. With Helldivers and the reception that it's had and how overly awesome it is, and with so many people putting out clips of, you know, this is how you play and this is what's going on, I just wanted to take a step aside to highlight a different thing, which is that right now it's really important that you take a little time for yourself and remember that you can just play something that you like. You don't always have to be playing what everybody else is playing. If you don't, you know, if you can't keep up, that's fine. Don't let added stresses and weights about other things get in your way of just enjoying the games that you like. I can be part of this conversation a little bit by talking about something else that has to do with the aspect of Helldivers that maybe not a lot of people are thinking about. It doesn't necessarily mean that if I don't play the game, I'm not allowed in, or, you know, I can't be part of the gaming circles because I don't play every single game that comes out day one. That's just not how it works, guys. Video games are for fun. They're art for fun. So make sure you take the time to enjoy your video games. Crazy week for Helldivers 2. I'll be really interested to see how this goes. And I feel like as long as they keep their... Excuse me. As long as they keep the freaking... No, you know what? That worked just fine. As long as they keep the hands out of the crazy monetization, then they'll probably be fine. I feel like that's the right route for most live service games. Just keep your monetization okay and not nutty, and you'll probably be fine. Thank you for watching the video. These videos are pulled from my live video podcast. To be part of the live discussion or see everything full and unedited, join me Sundays 10 a.m. PST, where we talk about gaming, anime, and VTubing each week on the Mr. Psyche Show. Like, subscribe, and remember to be kind to each other. All right, peace.